This is a broadcast from the Pop Cult Pod.
Oh, that is right. Welcome to the Pop Cult Pod. I'm your cult leader, Tom Pot, and it has been a while, man. In fact, you know what? If no one else is going to say it, it's been too long. Yeah, it's been a month and a day as of this recording since we last did an episode. So I guess I'll give a very quick explanation. I kind of started working in a new place, kind of sucked a lot of my time away, and by the time I did have some time, there was more pressing stuff to get out than the podcast, like Any Good, my review on Godzilla vs. Kong on the YouTube channel, and upon further review where I talked about the original Godzilla and all that stuff. So that's also got my plugs out of the way. Hey, aside from that, the kind of issue I'm running into, and you'll notice it while you watch this podcast or indeed listen, because you can do it in both ways, you know. They basically realize that Hollywood is starting to reopen, and because of that, everyone's starting to put their flag down, and because of that, it's like trailer. So I was like, anytime a trailer came in, I was like, perfect, that's my cutoff point. Once that trailer's out, I'll start the show. I'll write up all the news, I'll have all the stuff ready to go in the video version, and I can record. And then I'd be like, oh, that was a pretty good trailer. Well, I'm going to go record. Whoa, where are you going, Tom? Did you not know? Tomorrow we're dropping our trailer. What? It seriously happened like 3 times in a row. Some stuff dropped on the same day. It's insane. So because of that, first of all, I have about a month's worth of news. I've even cut some news out because, you know, it's just too old. But there's also a lot of trailers. I think we have 11 trailers this week to discuss. Now, granted, 2 of the trailers are for the same movie, but probably the most we've ever had, and obviously because of that, it's going to probably be a long enough show without a feature, so there's no feature this week. But hopefully next time we're here, we will have a feature. But until then, like I said, there is plenty of news. They have so much news that we named it 3 times. Well, not really. We named it New News.
Not just news. Not just new news.
You got mail.
But the new.
I think I just lied to you. It's not called news. It's new news. God, it's been so long since I've done this. I forgot the name of my own segment. Awesome. Great start, Tom. And then also, you know, it's also a lie because it's not really new, some of it. But it's kind of a roundup, I guess. And man, if we're going to do a roundup, if we're going to cut down to the bone and figure out what to talk about, it seems at least that DC Film have started realizing what they need to do, which is good, because for a long time, it seems like they hadn't a clue. What they've started to do is at least narrow down what they're going to work on. So, well done, DC, on finally running your studio, your whatever, your genre films, your division successfully, because they've started kind of culling down what they were going to make and also announce some new stuff. So let's get right to it. First of all, as a surprise to some, and much to the annoyance of the core fan base, I'm assuming, the Snyderverse is dead, seemingly, or at least if Warner Media have their way. Warner Media Studio CEO Anna Sarnoff has confirmed that the Snyderverse will not be restored, remarking that Justice League marked the completion of Zack Snyder's trilogy. This came out like very quickly after they put out the Snyder Cut, which it's insane actually. Now I realize I think my last podcast, the Snyder Cut hadn't come out yet either. So I also have a review for that up, by the way, along with a lot of other stuff on the YouTube channel, never mind. But basically, about like a week after, I'd say, they were like, oh no, we're done now. Because of course it was starting to get heated. This whole kind of debate of the fan base. First of all, she talked and thanked the fan base, and she kind of course dismissed the toxic side of the fan base, which is pretty evident, I will say, as much as I think it is a minority, to be fair. But also it's like you're starting to see that now, because it feels like anytime they've put out like trailers for any Warner Brothers property, it's bombarded with tweets from Restore the Snyderverse people. Godzilla vs. Kong was getting review bombed on IMDb. And which is funny because then the Godzilla v Kong fans started bombarding the Snyder Cut. So it's like, let them fight, you know. Ken Watanabe, like, that was my kind of opinion of it. And yeah, the thing is, they've kind of emboldened this fan base because they gave what they wanted. And look, they got what they wanted, and it turned out pretty good. And it seems like it's been successful enough for everyone involved to just cut it off here. But at the same time, it's a lot easier to bring a film back that was half finished than, give him Zack Snyder 2 more films that could hold up the rest of this potential universe, which they seemingly have big plans for. So yeah, that's apparently the end. They also very quickly shot down any speculation of another director's cut of Suicide Squad, with him saying, like, basically asked about the possibility of David Ayer's cut. And she said, we won't be developing David Ayer's cut. Very cold and calculated there. I feel kind of bad for David Ayer, to be honest, because he doesn't have the same level of nutcase fans that Zack Snyder has. And of course, not all the fans are nutcase. I have to say that because they kind of scare me, to be honest. So that's where we're at. They even put a kind of a full stop on it during the week. They put out a trailer dubbed like Zack Snyder's DC trilogy or something. So is this the end? Maybe. At least Warner Bros. Hopes it is, but again, the chances of it actually being the case, that probably depends more on the actual fan base, because some of them will fight tooth and nail, and we'll see what comes of it. Definitely feels like it's gotten a lot quieter. It feels like some people were kind of like, look, I wanted a Justice League, I got Justice League, I'm out, guys, I'm out. This has been exhausting for everyone involved. Anyway, we have, however, heard of some new characters that they're developing. First of which is Zatanna. That's right, DC's magician character, who's a stage magician, but also can do actual magic. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, Zatanna's a character I always thought was kind of corny. But I know she has got a nice fan base. They haven't given much details about the film. Again, the question is this a character that can kind of carry their own movie? And it kind of feels like, if this was, okay, I'm going to say something now that's going to piss off any DC fans. If this was a Marvel film, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, because they've kind of established most of their core characters. DC haven't done a great job of establishing some of those core characters, and now they're like, and Zatanna, and you're like, whoa. Superman? No? Okay, we're doing Zatanna. But this is something that could be fun. This is something that could be a bit different, and I applaud it for that at some degree. And we also heard some pretty interesting stuff about this. For example, the person who signed on for this is a person called Emerald Fennell, and you might not know the name, but that is the director and writer of Promising Young Woman, which is an excellent film that everyone is talking about at the moment, that's got Academy Awards love. So they've got a great person on board for this. And apparently this was all in the works before Promising Young Woman. But all the same, she is going to at least write the script for Zatanna, possibly direct, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. It'll be produced by J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot Productions, of course, as part of their larger production deal that they have between Bad Robot and DC. And that kind of caused a few questions. Zatanna has been part of Justice League Dark in the past. They are developing Justice League Dark, apparently for HBO Max, through Bad Robot. Could this be where it's leading? Hard to tell. The other thing I want to say is, and I mentioned this before, and it's hard, I kind of speculated on this, but now I kind of maybe want to back off on it a little bit. So a long time ago, well, not that long ago, they were talking about their plan for the DC universe, and it was like, we want to put out 4 films theatrically a year if we can, and 4 to HBO Max, I think was the idea. Lately, and I talked about one of these, and one of them I've kind of jumped over. I talked about Blue Beetle on my last episode. That possibly I could see as a HBO Max film. There's Batgirl, possibly a HBO Max film. Again, I don't know if that would go straight to theaters. Our Man, and of course we have Zatanna now. Now the thing is, as much as I think on paper those are characters that don't necessarily scream theatrical experience, they've got some major talents here, and I wonder if that talent would be a little bit miffed if they made something just for streaming. So hard to call there, to be honest. Again though, what you will notice, and I think this is more the case as we get further down, some of the more modern filmmakers, their approach to streaming has definitely softened in the wake of the coronavirus, because a lot of films, of course, have had to go to streaming, and they're like, hey, it's not all doom and gloom. But all the same, we can talk about one film that's happening. Let's talk about a film, and some films, I guess, that are not happening, because as much as they've announced Zatanna, they've also announced 2 films that are not going to happen, and possibly more. Like, one of the things that I was kind of always annoyed me about DC's films and their slate and their presidents and all this stuff, the DCU as a whole, I suppose, they kept having films out of nowhere with seemingly no rhyme or reason. They seemingly had loads of stuff in production that sometimes you'd hear about, sometimes you wouldn't. It was just really scattershot, and it seems like they're trying to course correct here, because they've announced that basically two films that have been in development for a while. They call them legacy development titles. Are not going to happen. That being Ava DuVernay's New Gods, and also The Trench, which was an Aquaman spin-off. Now, these have been kind of around for a while. New Gods has been worked on since 2018, with Ava DuVernay attached and writing the script with Tom King. She says she enjoyed working with Tom King. Is a very good writer. He wrote a lot of great comics, for one. I think he wrote Mr. Miracle, and he wrote the Vision run for Marvel, which is really good. And the question is, why are they getting rid of these? That's kind of a question we may come back to in a sec. The Trench, by the way, I should say, was also announced at the start of 2019, which means I recorded an episode mentioning it at one point, and I think I basically had the same logic, which was, why do we need this? This kind of bit strange. They mentioned that, of course, that they could come back to these at some point. But they also don't want to leave the filmmakers on the hook for years for films that really can't happen until there's kind of a gap in their slate, which they kind of say is a while. Now, on paper, this is a good sign. As much as I'm sure there are people looking forward to some of these movies, it's a good sign because it means that they're starting to come up with a kind of unified vision. They're kind of starting to come up with a plan, hopefully. It means they're like, look, this isn't going to fit in. This is something we need to look at. Let's not prioritize this over that, etc., etc. So that's possibly a good sign. Now, on the other hand, what you could say is that it's not necessarily that well thought out. Here's a couple of things we should keep in mind, okay? Before anyone says anything else as well, they mentioned these two films. These two films are definitively cancelled. They said some legacy titles, including these two films. So there could be more for them as well. Again, there's definitely enough stuff that could be purged there. Who knows? I mean, even like Blue Beetle, there was talk about Blue Beetle and Booster Gold movie. So I assume, that one's probably gone now that Blue Beetle is coming, and on and on and on. One of the reasons they apparently stopped the New Gods movie is because Darkseid would be the villain in that, and of course Darkseid was just in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they basically wanted to space out his appearances. Now, that creates a whole lot of questions because, of course, Snyder fans are saying, "Oh yeah, because you have a character that people liked, and now you're saying, oh, we can't have him." Like, this is ridiculous. And then on the outside, you're like, well, you should have probably thought of that. I don't think that's the only reason, mind you. I just think they didn't see money in a New Gods film, at least not now. And I would kind of agree with that. It feels like, you're putting the cart before the horse there, going to New Gods when there's so many characters you haven't really explored yet. Get the core characters down first. We still don't have a Green Lantern in this universe. So I don't know. I kind of feel like this is a move in the right direction, personally. Some people are a bit annoyed. I can understand that. Something like the Aquaman the Trench thing, I think that while that could lead to some interesting possibilities, I also just feel like that doesn't really feel necessary. And why cannibalize one of your most successful projects straight away? Maybe just, get the universe on the right track first. And it seems, at least, if we could be positive about DC, it feels like they're trying to do that here by getting rid of some of these titles. And we should also talk about a film that was very, very positive. My favorite DCU film, I would say, at least off the top of my head. And maybe if I took some deep introspection, I would have another answer to that question. But it was Shazam, David F. Sandberg's film, which came out in 2019. I thought was excellent. And finally, we're starting to get some news on Shazam 2, Shazam Fury of the Gods, which is casting news. First of all, Helen Mirren has joined the cast, and she is joined by Lucy Liu. They're both playing villains in Shazam Fury of the Gods. Just to go through each character, Helen Mirren is set to play Hespera, a character not from the comics, but she is the daughter of Atlas, who is in the comics. If you're not aware, basically Atlas is one of the gods Shazam gets his powers from. He has the stamina of Atlas, I think it is, but that's where one of the A's comes from. He basically, if you don't know Atlas, it's actually kind of fitting because I think Zack Snyder's production company is called like Atlas Pictures or something. But it's a person a god who held up the celestial skies and the earth for all eternity. Basically, that's, if you ever see the thing of a man holding a globe, that's Atlas. Why am I going off on this tangent? As intellectual as it might make me sound. That's Atlas. So that's her daughter. Helen Mirren is Atlas's daughter. That's what I was trying to say. And Lucy Liu, who, by the way, Lucy Liu is 52. That's not a Dr. Seuss rhyme. She's that's just her age. And that's amazing. She's phenomenal looking for 52. I mean, take a bow. And I mean, Helen Mirren looks phenomenal for her age as well, which is, they're goddesses for sure. Like, well done. Great casting. So she's also playing Helen Mirren's sister, who of course is also a daughter of Atlas by that logic. And her name is Calypso. Again, not in the comics. So kind of interesting they're going for characters not from the comics, but I assume they'd have some comic basis. Now, I think they're also going for a more mythological basis, and this is my speculation. But I'm also going to put a big asterisk here, which is that if I'm right, I'm going to be an obnoxious coward. I don't know why I said coward. When this is confirmed, they're going to cast another sister. Okay, we have 2 sisters so far. There's going to be one more villainous sister. Why am I saying that? Because I think the title is a play on words. So the Fury of the Gods. That makes sense. Furies, though, are 3 goddesses of vengeance. And I think it's Greek mythology, I believe it is. They're kind of like 3 goddesses of vengeance. So I would assume, unos, dos, tres, we're still waiting on a 3rd sister. So I'm going to say now, count on a 3rd sister being cast. In fact, you know what? Could I just reword this so like every entertainment journalist, so I could maybe get a scoop? Exclusive from one of my sources is telling me we're still waiting on the cast for a 3rd sister. There you go. Pick this up, all you shitty news sites. They won't. But I don't know. Maybe. I'm pretty positive that's going to be the case. I think we're still waiting on another villain. And I also want to shout out David F. Sandberg, who did a pretty cool thing. He went on to on Reddit. There's a DC Leaks subreddit, and he posted something that was made to look like a fake leak, where he basically just walked in with his camera phone into the Shazam production offices and just filmed the last page of the script, which was just, he's fun. He seems like a fun guy, that David F. Sandberg. But anyway, we're also going to talk about another DC villain, which just entered production after, this has been, I'm sure this was announced around the time of Man of Steel, and that's Black Adam. Of course, the arch enemy, or antagonist often to Shazam, but he's become a sort of an anti-hero in recent time because, of course, I don't think The Rock is going to play an out-and-out villain nowadays. We got some casting for that, which, by the way, Dwayne Johnson has been linked to the role of Black Adam since about 2007, so that tells you how long this has been going. But it started production. They had a weird Times Square thing where all the squares, all the squares, Times Square is literally made of squares. There you go. That's just a bit of a fact, along with a bit of Greek mythology. This is an edutainment podcast, isn't it? It's all the screens basically went black with the Black Adam logo, and it was like Dwayne Johnson being like, "Oh, there's a new hero." I'm just thinking all the poor people that were in Times Square that day being like, "What the fuck?" But yeah. Anyway, we have got some casting for Black Adam, which is Pierce Brosnan is joining the cast of the film. He's going to play Dr. Fate, who will pop up on the screen of the video version there in case you don't know what he looks like. Mainly because I think he's got I just love that costume, man. Dr. Fate's costume is so cool. Why is he important to this? Because, of course, we know Black Adam is going to involve the Justice Society of America, and Dr. Fate is a founding member of them. So, interesting stuff. They basically, I think they've cast every member of the Justice Society of America now. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. The film is set to come out July 29, 2022. We got a confirmation of the date. I don't know if I'm excited for this one, to be honest. But it's too early to call. Dr. Fate has telekinesis, telepathy, teleportation. He's at times immortal, but again, I don't know if that'll be the case in this, because that makes for a pretty uninteresting character. It kind of takes away some of the stakes. And he's clairvoyant. A lot of the time, he kind of takes the role in DC universes that he pops up out of nowhere when something grave is about to happen, because he can tell the future and stuff. So. Who knows? But again, Pierce Brosnan as casting for Dr. Fate is pretty awesome. I think that's great casting. So, but we'll see. We're also, surprisingly, at this stage, it almost feels like a movie that's been in production as long as Black Adam, which is The Flash. Because we finally, at long last, have started production on The Flash. Who would have thunk it? It only took forever. Oh, the irony of slow Flash. Oh my god. So yeah, that's kind of weird that we've only started production now, but we also got some updates on it. One of those updates being some replacements in the cast. Billy Crudup played, is it Henry Allen? I think Barry Allen's father, who we saw in Justice League, and of course in Zack Snyder's Justice League. He has had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts. I can't remember what show he's on, I can't. I want to say Succession because it seems like anytime I see an actor, they're on Succession. But I don't think it's that. I think it's some cable show, right? But he's been replaced by Ron Livingston, who, if you didn't know, is probably best known for Office Space and a million other stuff. He's in Band of Brothers as well. That's pretty great casting. First of all, he kind of looks a bit like Billy Crudup, but he also looks a bit more like Ezra Miller than Billy Crudup does. So I'm okay with that. I'm all here for the Ron Livingston renaissance, as it were. The Ron-naissance. No one has ever said that about Ron Livingston, but there you go. We also got some new people joining the cast, though, which is Saoirse Monica Jackson from Derry Girls. I love Derry Girls, so I'm like, this is awesome. I'm glad to see her get a big break. And Rudy Mancuso, who's kind of an internet comedian. I think he's on YouTube and TikTok or Vine before TikTok. Is Vine still a thing? I don't know. I'm not going to waste time even thinking about that. They've been cast in undisclosed roles. So look at that. We're getting some casting on The Flash, which a lot of people were speculating was going to be kind of a Flashpoint thing. Well, it is. And the only thing that we'd heard about, the one of the things that got a lot of us so excited for The Flash, was the inclusion of Michael Keaton's Batman. But you know who's not that excited about it, seemingly? Michael Keaton. Because seemingly that is not the done deal we thought it might be. And first of all, I know people were going to say, oh, well, it wasn't confirmed. Blah, blah. Well, yeah, they didn't come out and say it, but they hinted at it loads of times. And they even posted concept art that was clearly Michael Keaton's Batman suit. So they kind of got people into the hype for this, but maybe it was premature. Michael Keaton has said basically it could be a stupid freaking idea, which I'm like, oh, that just sounded like Michael Keaton in my head, doesn't it? He said, he says, no, you know what it is? And this is a very long quote, but I think it's important because I want to try capture the Michael Keaton essence. No, you know what it is? I am needing a minute to think about it because I'm so fortunate and blessed. I got so much going on now. I'm really into work right now. I don't know why, but I am. And so, yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, somewhere on my iPad is the iteration of the whole Flash thing, and I haven't had time yet. I called them and said, I have to be honest with you, I can't look at anything right now. I'm so deep into this thing I'm doing. Also, I'm prepping a thing I'm producing and getting ready to go down the road. I'm getting ready to do Down the Road. Oh, that sounds like a folksy song. Slow down, Keaton. I'm getting ready to do Down the Road in the fall that I'll be in, and I feel responsible to that. So yeah, there is that. I'm not being cute or coy. If I talked about it, I'll just be bullshitting it. I don't really know. I have to look at the last draft, to be honest with you. You know what worries me more than anything about all this stuff? It's COVID. I'm more concerned. I keep my eye more on the COVID situation in the UK than anything. That will determine everything. And so that's why I'm living outside the city here on 17 acres, staying away from everybody, because the COVID thing has got me really concerned. So that's the first thing about all projects. I look at it and go, is this the thing to kill me? Literally. And if it doesn't, then we talk. Right. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. Doesn't it sound like that? Especially the first half of that, before he gets into his concerns about COVID. The whole thing kind of sounds like someone weaseling out of it, doesn't it? It sounds like someone does excuses where he's like, I haven't really looked at it, and is it a good idea? But look, do you even need me? Like, you got a great, like, you know what? Look, we leave it off, will we? It just seems like he's really trying to weasel out of it. It's filming in the UK. I just started filming, I think, last week, and yeah, that's not great, is it? That he's concerned it might not happen. Then again, maybe you can delay it until it is a bit more safe, if you felt more comfortable. I don't think this is the end of Keaton in the DC films, mainly because there's so much hype there. I would say at this point that if it doesn't happen, people are going to be really pissed off, especially because they've leaned into it. So I don't know. It's a bit unsettling, and I can't believe they started teasing it before there was contracts in place. But yeah, I don't know about that. It just doesn't sound like he's very excited to do it either. But anyway, do you know what? Let's talk about someone who's very excited for a project, even if no one else might be. And that is Sylvester Stallone, ladies and gentlemen. He has, for some reason, decided to give us the Rocky prequel. That's right, a Rocky prequel series. I don't know why. I don't know why we need a Rocky prequel series, but Stallone seems to think we need one. Ah, man. We should talk as well. Last episode, we talked about Creed 3 and how Michael B. Jordan was going to come back, of course, as Creed, and was also going to direct it. And I pretty much said exactly what they're saying now, which is like, do you really need to keep coming back to Stallone? and that's not a diss on Stallone. It was more a case of like, haven't we told that story already? Don't we have enough of Rocky? I mean, if this is meant to be Creed and meant to be the film series about Creed, maybe we could, tell the story of Creed instead of it just being like, hey, do you know how he relates to Rocky, etc., etc. And no, it's not me saying that Rocky's involvement in the film wasn't good, and it was nice to see, like, but his story's done really, but it's not fully done. If you ask Stallone, who, if you also don't remember, is also wants to make another Rocky film, Rocky 7, where I think he like coaches an immigrant boxer or something like that, something strange, which is hilarious because he recently got apparently outed of spending like a couple of million to join Donald Trump's country club in Mar-a-Lago. So maybe he doesn't really care about immigrants, in case Rambo Last Blood wasn't evidence of that. Anyway, I don't get political. But Stallone wants to get political, except it's the politics of the 60s. So he's talked about a Rocky prequel in the past, right? And I think we just put it up to, oh, that's Stallone, because he always just talks about bringing back properties that he's been in, and half the time they go nowhere. But he's talked about it in the past. He kind of said like, oh, and it's weird. It's that thing where he was like, he had all his plans and then nothing to show for it. He was like, oh yeah, we could do a prequel TV series for a streaming service, and we got to do 10 episodes, and that would work totally. And it's like, oh, have you written anything? Have you approached any streaming services? No, I haven't. So basically what we have here, we don't know who it's attached to. I don't know is it going to happen, but he's certainly trying to make it happen. He has like, what has he even done here? He wrote like, his Instagram post for this was so like, by the way, like he basically showed off some of the notes and the script pages, his kind of pitch, I suppose, for a Rocky series, and then the rest of it was all of photos of him going fishing. Stallone is the most Stallone person there is, isn't he? He is basically saying, and this is his words, I've kind of paraphrased what he said, this is not coming from my mouth. His pitch talked about how it would act as a time machine into a cinematic world brimming with characters that have been beloved around the world for nearly 5 decades. That is a very fancy way of saying it's a prequel. He says it will go through the 60s, with Stallone mentioning the likes of the moon landing, the sexual revolution, the Cold War, the civil rights movement, the assassination of JFK, the Cuban Missile Crisis, Martin Luther King's assassination. Those are a lot of buzzwords, aren't they? They're not even they're all in the 60s, but like, I mean, is just every episode going to be a different year, or doesn't work. And it just seems like buzzwords to get people invested. I don't know what time frame they're doing in, and I'll be honest, I don't think I need to hear Rocky's opinion on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It's not something I've ever thought about, to be honest. I mean, look, the thing about Rocky was that we already kind of saw his arc, becoming a kind of a bum to a contender, as it were. So why do we need to just have a whole series of him as, a loan shark, wash up, unlikable character? I just don't get that. Why would you do that? It doesn't seem necessary. I mean, it's just going to be all this pointless stuff like, oh yeah, this is how fucking Rocky met Paulie. Oh my god, this is how he got the dog, or whatever. Bupkis. I can't remember. Maybe Bupkis actually is bought in the first movie, so that's even less of a plot point. How did Rocky get his hat? Oh, it's like, you don't need this. I don't know. And even if you're like, oh, these characters that people loved, like, who? Rocky and Paulie. I mean, Adrian isn't going to really be in it. I said that really weird. Adrian isn't really going to be in it because they really only meet and gets talking in the first film. Who else is in the first film? Marie, the little kid on the corner. What's she going to be, a baby? It's just so pointless. Yeah, I just don't think it's necessary. But I'm sure some streaming service will buy it, because some streaming service seems to buy everything, and there's enough streaming services. So anyway, as I said, there is going to be a Rocky prequel series if Stallone has his way. I mean, if he has his way, there'll also be another Rocky movie. But he's not going to be in Creed 3. Michael B. Jordan on that said, I think they let Sly let it be known, or I think Sly let it know he wouldn't be coming back. He said it on an Instagram post. But I think, his essence and his spirit, there's always going to be a little of Rocky with Adonis. He said, in this Creed franchise, we want to build this story and this world around him moving forward. So it's always respect and always a shit ton of love for what he's built. But we really want to push and navigate the Adonis forward, and navigate Adonis forward and the family that he created. So hopefully you guys will love that, what I'm thinking, what we're cooking up. I think it's going to be something special. So yeah, naturally, he's not in Creed 3, and I think that's a good call. A much better call, than a Rocky prequel series. That's just something we don't need. Something we also probably don't need is another Transformers movie, but you guess your bottom dollar that we're going to get it, because Paramount, of course, just want to make a load of Transformers movies. There's a lot of them in production, and this one is, no exception. Even though, I'll be honest, I was really confused as to what it actually was. This comes from, and they've signed on as the director, I should say, Angel Manuel Soto, who I mentioned last episode is going to do Blue Beetle. He directed a movie called Charm City Kings, which I have to check out, because obviously, considering all the work he's getting off of that, it must be pretty good. He is going to direct a new Transformers movie for Paramount. This was also apparently a blind commitment to the script, which is being written by Marco Ramirez, best known as a co-showrunner for The Defenders, and he also worked on Daredevil and Sons of Anarchy. We don't really know much else about this project. It's really strange, because it's like, I don't fully understand what's going on with it. Like, when you see a series, this kind of actually reminds me of DC, where you're like, all these films are announced and you're like, is that part of the universe? Is that, what's this? Like Transformers, they've announced 4 different movies. I think there's a Bumblebee spin-off. There's another Transformers movie that's going to be a revamp. There's a Beast Wars thing. I think there might be a Bumblebee sequel. And this, I think, is something different again. I honestly couldn't figure it out, because I looked at the source that broke the news, and they said one thing, and Wikipedia said another thing. And it was just like, what? This is a mess. But anyway, I think that is what he's doing is a separate thing altogether. As far as I know, it's separate to the mainline Transformers movies, as in it's separate to the Michael Bay Transformers movies. But speaking of the mainline series, I guess the ones that'll just be billed as Transformers, they have gotten a director for that already, for what's apparently going to be like a reboot of the series. Of course, this is the first one in the main series that won't be directed by Michael Bay, aside from Bumblebee, which was, again, not really part of the mainline series, I suppose. It's going to be directed by Stephen Capel Jr., who gave us Creed 2. Damn, that would have been a great transition, because I just talked about Creed. But anyway, they found their lead for this film, which is apparently going to be Anthony Ramos, known for his performance in Hamilton. He was with them since it was off Broadway, actually, and he's also one of the leads in The Heights, which is coming very, very soon. And we had early reactions on that, which was really, really positive. So that's pretty cool. I mean, seems like they're actually going for an interesting choice here. Again, Transformers series is kind of all over the place. I hope that they're going to tidy it up a little bit here. But who really knows? That being said, if you had an itch to scratch, if you wanted, let's say another giant robot movie, another giant mech movie, you're apparently not going to run out of options, because Netflix have announced that they're making a Gundam movie, a property which I very quickly realized I know nothing about. I was always like, oh yeah, Gundam, it's like, Mobile Suit Gundam, right? That's the thing, right? And then I'm like, oh, this is actually a thing that's been going on forever. I know nothing about it. In fact, to be honest, behind me now I have a graphic for Gundam in the video version, and it might be completely wrong. I don't know. I typed in Gundam and I saw all these things that look totally different. But, it's an anime, isn't it? And Hollywood is, of course, going to make that happen. Netflix basically said, grab your own mobile suits in a tweet. Jordan Vogt Roberts, who gave us, of course, Skull Island and Kings of Summer, has been set to direct and produce Legendary's first ever live action feature film version of Sunrise's Gundam for Netflix. Not a lot else known about that. Who knows when this is coming? What it's going to look like? They also, of course, have Voltron on Netflix. That's kind of what I was getting confused with. So, yeah, Gundam is coming to Netflix. Good news, I guess, if you're a Gundam fan. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, stay away from my anime properties, Netflix. Because they've already ruined Death Note and loads of other stuff, probably. But anyway, Netflix are going to spend money to make movies happen. And never has that been truer than when they bought the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3 for a staggering $469 million. Oh, holy shit. Right, this came out of absolutely nowhere, by the way. Netflix have purchased the rights to the next two Knives Out films from Rian Johnson, who of course made the film in 2019, which was kind of a whodunit. I won't say it was kind of, it was a whodunit. That was well received. People loved it. Audiences loved it. It was made by Lionsgate, I believe, and now they're like, hey, we're going to take those sequels off you. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this, positive and negative, I will say, because on paper, that seems insane, right? It does. I mean, what else? Like, that's a lot of money for two movies, and that isn't covering everything. You know what I mean? What does it actually include is kind of the question we need to get down, because people are kind of getting twisted all out of shape about this. But first of all, it's so much money that Rian Johnson, Daniel Craig, and the producer Ram Bergman are apparently going to walk away with upward of $100 million each. I mean, you can't be mad at them. Make that money, man. The deal allows Rian Johnson to have total creative control over the movies, which contractually have to star Daniel Craig, and at the very least have to have the same budget as the original, which sat at around $40 million, which again, I'm like, wow, Knives Out only cost $40 million with that cast? Well done. Of course, it went on to gross $311 million worldwide. Of course, you know, Daniel Craig is Benoit Blanc. He was always going to be the lead character. The rest of the characters were never really going to return in sequels. And I will say this, there was always going to be another Knives Out film. There was talk of Knives Out 2 pretty much immediately after Knives Out was a success. So this isn't like Rian Johnson was just like, oh, well, if you cut me a check, I'll make it. I do find it funny though, like that they're like, you have to have a budget of at least $40 million, because like the idea that they'd just be like, hey, you know, man, let's spend $5 million and get out of here, you know. We got our money, we don't need anything else. Haha. It's interesting for a couple of reasons, because number one, they're not going to own the franchise. They're not going to own the intellectual property. Which means they can't just be like, okay, thanks for that, Rian Johnson, we're going to make Knives Out 4 now. You can go away now. Thank you, bye. They don't own it, which means that basically after that, Rian Johnson can be like, thanks, suckers, I'm going somewhere else. Haha. But of course, if this is a success, they will also throw a blank check at him. And it's also strange because this isn't a massive franchise that you would throw that kind of money at. But it is an interesting one in that it's a property that people fell in love with, that is original and made good money. And it, you know, with a lot of these movies, what we see is when the first movie is a hit, over time, especially with streaming, the sequels can be bigger. And what they're paying for here isn't just the rights to the film. It's also basically, or seemingly, going to be like, this is the money we're giving you that you would have got on the back end of the film doing well in theaters. So based on that, you would assume it's not going to be going to theaters, and this is really Netflix flexing that, like, hey, we can make our own big films. And to be honest, they kind of need it, because the films they've made either aren't very good or memorable, or they have big name directors and aren't really crowd pleasers, where I think this can kind of hit the line of both. So is it an overspend? I suppose it remains to be seen. I don't think it necessarily is, but it's a lot of money. No question about it. And yeah, it is a lot of money, isn't it? Maybe it is an overspend. I don't know, because I'm just thinking, like, they spent $469 million for two Knives Out movies, and I'm like, an eighth of that got Disney, you know, Lucasfilm and and Marvel and all this stuff. So it's like, I don't know, it's a lot of money, but I like the first Knives Out. I'm excited for sequels. Again, I did think the first one was a great theatrical experience, so it's kind of a shame we're not going to get that again. But you know, I will say this though, right? What put this into perspective somewhat is Amazon are also buying movies. They're buying movies that are totally unproven. They bought The Tomorrow War, which has been rumored for the longest time. When I talked about this on my kind of preview of the year back in January, I mentioned, yeah, it's probably going to go to Amazon for $200 million. I wouldn't, you know, eventually they're like, yeah, it's going to Amazon for $200 million. We not a lot of, we haven't seen anything with this thing. We only have one image of it, which is the one behind me in the video version. A sci-fi action film from director Chris McKay, who gave us the Lego Batman movie. It stars Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons, and Yvonne Strahovski. Basically, we don't know much else. It's coming out July 2nd, 2021. Is it going to be any good? maybe, but that's a lot of money. But then again, you're getting the movie and everything's done basically. So I don't know. This is another thing we should point out. This is another Paramount movie release. Paramount are getting picked for parts, man. It seems like half their movies are getting bought. And Amazon did it already. They bought Coming to America. So they bought another Paramount release here. So I don't know. It seems a bit mad, but it is what it is. There's not a lot else to say about the movie because we have nothing to go on. The plot synopsis is the world is done when a group of time travelers arrive from the year 2051. They deliver an urgent message. 30 years in the future, mankind is losing a global war against a deadly alien species. The only hope for survival is for soldiers and civilians from the present to be transported to the future and join the fight. Among those recruited is high school teacher and family man Dan Forrester. Oh, what an American. I'm a family man and a high school teacher. Let me shoot some aliens. Oh, man. Determined to save the world for his younger daughter, Dan teams up with a brilliant scientist, Yvonne Strahovski, and his estranged father, J.K. Simmons, in a desperate quest to rewrite the fate of the planet. Again, sounds like it could be interesting or total trash. 200 million, is it worth it? Kind of remains to be seen. Maybe we'll see a trailer and say, hey, actually, that looks pretty good. And I don't mean just the quality of the film. I mean, like, the scale of the movie, because you want that, obviously, if you're spending that amount of money. But we should also mention this. Money is obviously no object to Amazon. I mean, it wouldn't be anyway, but if there was ever any question how much they're willing to spend on content for Prime Video, we got an answer this week with their Lord of the Rings series, which is officially the most expensive TV series of all time. I mean, it was already the most expensive TV series of all time, but it's just gone up again. It's been revealed the Lord of the Rings series at Amazon is going to cost $465 million just for the first season. That is insane. Just okay, and people might like, especially when it comes to TV nowadays, people don't really like understand that. So that's like, hey, what that could mean anything. I'll put this in comparison, right? A season of Game of Thrones cost roughly about 100 million a series. So they've already spent 4.5 seasons of Game of Thrones in the first season. Okay, now Game of Thrones actors eventually by the end were getting paid quite a bit. Some of them were getting paid $500,000 an episode. So that's where a good chunk of money went. Early seasons of Game of Thrones, they cost about $6 million an episode. Later seasons, I think season 6, it was up to maybe $15 million an episode. Which, yeah, where did you get $465 million for the first season of a TV series with nobodies? There's no one, there's no one in this. There's no one of note in this. No offense to anyone in it. There's no big name in it. That is insane. Just to put it into context again, it's so expensive that they're apparently going to get 114 million tax rebate from the New Zealand government, which is also causes issues in New Zealand because they're like, that's so much money to give them as a tax rebate with no guarantee that this is going to pay off for us in any way. Because yeah, they're still making money from the Lord of the Rings, from tourism and that kind of stuff, and you know the production team's coming there now. But are they going to make that much from the Amazon series? I mean, this is crazy because this is the first season of a show I think that they have to do 5 seasons of, if I remember correctly. And it was already going to apparently cost $1 billion. Like altogether, it was like it's going to cost about $1 billion to make the whole thing. They're already nearly at half of it for just their first season. And look, admittedly, it's the startup cost of a new series because they have to get costumes and wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. And presumably it'll get cheaper down the road. But that's just insane. And I don't know if, with that in mind, can it ever be profitable? And look, it's coming out at the end of the year. Maybe I'll be eating my words. I don't know. Is there much hype in this? But especially because it's not the Lord of the Rings people know. So I don't know. It's interesting. Something else that is interesting, and also an outfit and an action that I'm not positive is going to make much money, is Kevin Smith's latest insane idea. He's done it again, folks. Kevin Smith is putting out his film in a weird ass way. Look, let's talk first. Let's just go into a bit of history first. So back in 2011, Kevin Smith went to Sundance with Red State, and he caused a lot of controversy when he was like, "We're going to auction off the film live in the room." And then when the film was up for auction, he bought it himself for $20 and was like, "I'm going to self-distribute it," and it pissed off a lot of people. That aside, Kevin Smith has announced that his latest film, Killroy Was Here, is set to be released as an NFT. I used to like Kevin Smith. I still kind of like Kevin Smith, but again, sometimes you're like, come on, dude. I don't like him at the moment because now I have to try and explain what NFT is, which I don't fully get, but they're seemingly everywhere. An NFT is a non-fungible token. Is that not clear? That you know what it means now, right? So basically, my understanding is that it's not unlike a cryptocurrency, but instead like of a cryptocurrency, you get like a digital asset, and that digital asset can be like a visual art, a video, music. Obviously, in this case, it's a movie. They're done in limited amounts, so that in other words, you can't. It's not just unlimited, and because of that, they're able to charge a kind of an exorbitant price. And it's up to you. If you buy it, you can resell it. And everyone's kind of getting into the NFT game lately. I can't remember what album or what music group put out an NFT. Was it Mumford & Sons or some shit? I don't remember. WWE I saw during WrestleMania, they were selling NFTs of WrestleMania moments, and apparently they made like $750,000 or something insane off those. So there is money to be made in this. He's basically launched a whole cryptocurrency line, Kevin Smith has. Now again, the other concern that a lot of people have with NFTs is that they're very, very, very bad for the environment. But apparently Kevin Smith is using a more eco-friendly one. Whatever that means, I don't even understand NFT. I'll just have to take his word for it. Yeah, this is interesting. Because what it means is that there is only one NFT that has the movie, and it's going to go up for sale. And whoever buys it owns it. It's theirs. They own the movie. They can do whatever they want with it, which means they could do what that asshole Martin Shkreli did with the Wu-Tang album and just buy something that no one else can get and keep it. Or it means they could say, hey, I bought it. Well, hey, Netflix, how much would you be willing to pay for this? They could, distribute it. They could merchandise it. They could do whatever they want, and in theory, at least, turn a massive profit. I mean, I don't know if they're going to turn a massive profit with a Kevin Smith movie. That's no offense to Kevin Smith. It's just, his output lately has been a bit meh. And this, let's be honest, this isn't like a big movie that people were necessarily going to rush to anyway. And yeah, the only thing we've seen from this is we saw a trailer at the last Comic-Con. It didn't look great. It looked okay. It looked kind of cheap. A lot of talk was actually that this was basically like a thing. He made this in what's the word I'm looking for? In cooperation with a kind of a film school, and because of that, it basically kind of felt like, Kevin Smith didn't do much of the work in the film students did. That's what I heard some people suggest. Allegedly, I'll say. But yeah, it definitely seemed kind of cheap. Didn't really look that interesting. It's an anthology horror movie, written by Kevin Smith and Andy McElfresh. Yeah, I find the idea of this fascinating, but I also think it's a terrible idea. Like whoever buys it has the sole ownership. And again, this isn't a Wu-Tang album. It's a Kevin Smith movie that honestly, I think the reason they're going down this way is because people probably weren't that interested in it. I heard a rumor once, and again, allegedly, massive heaping pile of salt. There wasn't a lot of interest in Red State, and that's why he did that distribution thing. Again, I don't believe that personally, because I think the cast and the quality of the film dictates that it would have some degree of interest. Maybe there was no interest in this film, and that's why he's doing this. I don't know. It just kind of feels pointless. It feels like a publicity stunt. Is it going to pay off? We will wait and see. I find the idea of it interesting, though. I do find it interesting that someone could be like, I'm going to buy this movie, and then I'm going to shop it around, I'm going to make some money, and, hopefully whoever buys it doesn't have buyer's remorse. But again, interesting idea. Is it a good idea? Probably not, but it remains to be seen. Anyway, that is our news. And as I said at the start of the show, at the top of the show, listen to that like a proper radio man, there has been a lot of delays. Hollywood is starting to reopen. Okay? And what that has meant is that everybody is starting to put their flag down. They're saying, this is mine. This is my date. You get your own date. And because of that, we've had a lot of films move. And should say delay, because this segment is called, Hey, Did You Say Delay? Have a little patience. Hey, did you say delay? I did. A lot of times a minute ago. And I'm going to say it a lot more times now. Because you have had a little patience. And thankfully, the world is starting to heal a bit, at least in Hollywood, and at least when it comes to blockbusters. And because of that, we might be able to retire this feature soon enough. But what it does mean at the moment, and it's kind of interesting, because obviously when I started this, they were delaying because they couldn't either release in cinemas because cinemas were closed, or else they just needed to have kind of normality to be massive blockbuster hits. But thankfully, that's sort of starting to subside. We obviously just had the release of Godzilla vs. Kong, which showed that there is still a thirst for cinemas, and that it did pretty well internationally. So presumably, give it a little bit more time, and we'll have the return of the cinematic blockbuster experience. But what it means now is that all the movies that are being delayed are kind of more staking their claims. We have movies that are jumping around, people are reorganizing their schedule. It does mean we're going to have jam-packed calendars for a while, and I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more movies delayed because they can't just cannibalize each other, especially after so much time where the studios couldn't make massive amounts of money. But we'll go through them anyway. So we're going to start with Disney, and this isn't all delays necessarily. Some of this is actually films that are kind of moving, as in not just being theatrical anymore. That was a terrible sentence. I'm going to talk about Cruella, Black Widow in a minute, because we have trailers for both of them. But we're going to talk about what is up with these movies. Of course, Disney are massive when it comes to the box office. They're basically what has kept cinemas open for a while there, at least before the pandemic. They were kind of home to the big blockbusters. And they have 3 films here that could, under normal circumstances, be big hits. Starting first with Cruella. So, Cruella had its date for a while now, and there was a big kind of debate over whether or not it was going to make that date. So, it's not delayed, first of all. It's going to come out May 28th in cinemas, but it's also going to go to Disney Plus Premier Access, the same as Raya and the Last Dragon and Mulan. So, I guess that's $30. I can't remember what it is over here. To be honest, I haven't used Disney Premier Access, but I might use it for the other film that is going to Disney Premier Access, and that is Black Widow. Because originally Black Widow was going to come out in May. Now it's coming out July 9th, theatrically and on Premier Access, which, let's talk about those two for a minute, okay? Because they're interesting. Cruella, it's like, maybe by May things won't be back to normal. Now, when it comes to July, you would assume they would. I'm not going to say it'll go back to normal. I'm not going to jinx it, but it would be more normal than it is now, and the movie should be able to do well. And what people are suggesting, and look, you could say the same thing about Godzilla vs. Kong, which did pretty well all the same. If you're putting your film on Premier Access, then there is a chance that piracy is going to affect it massively. Especially when the price tag is 30 whatever, and what I've heard other people say especially is that not even on this side of the world, but in China, if it hit like piracy will run rampant. They were suggesting it could lose like as much as like half its box office there or something. It could, or no, it cost them at least $50 million or something in China, if this goes ahead, which it is going ahead. So that's interesting. It's a kind of a strange move. But then again, they don't want to risk obviously putting out this film and it flopping. But I also feel like if it was underperform, you could just say, hey, it's available on Premier Access now, all the same. Bit of a strange move. I'm just happy the movies are coming out, to be honest. So I'm not going to give out about it too much. And I think it's honestly, it's gotten to the point where they needed to shit or get off the pot with Black Widow. It's been over 2 years now. No, it hasn't. It was meant to come out in summer of 2020, I should have said. It's been so long that we've been hearing about this movie is what I meant to say, right? And it's at a certain point, this film suffers from being irrelevant more than the other ones. And that's not a knock against the film, but this is obviously a film with a character who's no longer in the MCU. They're dead, unless, barring some miracle resurrection in this film. And because of that, it feels less essential than some of the other MCU entries. And also, I'm not going to give any spoilers for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but obviously there was a lot of people suggesting that this is going to sort of, there was things in Black Widow that are going to be spoiled in Falcon and Winter Soldier now because of the reality of how long it has been shelved for. And, that's a problem. So I think it was just a case where they had to get it out now. They could only wait so much longer. And thankfully, we won't have to wait too much longer to see it. I'll go into the trailer in a minute. The reason I've shrunk myself down in the video version is so you can see the film that is in the middle there, and that is Luca. And this is an interesting one, and one I feel really bad about, because when we look at the movies that have gone to Disney Plus, obviously there's the ones that have gone to Premier Access. But there's one film that didn't go to Premier Access and just went up for free, and that was Pixar's Soul, which was a really good film. I really enjoyed it. I did a review for it. I thought it was really good. And it was great that it came out, Christmas Day. You could just watch it with your family. Didn't have to pay anything extra for it. Luca is Pixar's next film. Which, if you're not aware of what Luca is about, Luca is about a young boy named Luca, his friend Alberto. They're secretly sea monsters, and it's kind of like their adventures in the Italian Riviera. That's not going to theaters. So you're saying, okay, well, Premier Access, that's okay. That's what Mulan pretty much did. It's not going to Premier Access either. It's going to Disney Plus for free on June 18th. So you have Cruella May 28th, Black Widow July 9th, Luca in between them, June 18th. The reason I have pause for this, is that the way you use that word? I don't know. Is that I honestly feel bad for Pixar. Like, it's like Disney are basically being like, these are the ones that make us money. I mean, Onward went to VOD at the very, very start of the pandemic when it was in theaters, and that's something that was out of their control. But they put Soul up for free. They put Luca up for free. I've heard reports that indicate exactly what I thought, which is that it's very demoralizing for Pixar's artists, people that worked really hard in this film, and then it's just like, yeah, well, these ones you should pay extra money for, but this one's free. This one doesn't go to good cinemas, and that's a real shame, because they of course have been like a massive part of Disney's history and relevance, and I doubt, like, even though they've had their missteps and at times you could criticize them more recently, is like they're one of the best animation studios in the world and one of the most consistent, and their last two films they're just giving out for free, which as a consumer is great, but I don't know. It feels like they've kind of cheapened the Pixar brand a bit, and I feel bad for the people involved in the film, personally. But I'm excited for Luca, so I don't know. I just feel kind of bad for them. But all the same, that's what the story is with the main Disney titles. So two of them are going to Premier Access, Cruella and Black Widow, which again, people have kind of debated whether or not this Premier Access stuff is actually successful. And I guess we still don't fully know if it is or not, but it's obviously successful enough where they're willing to put two big releases on it. So maybe it's not entirely unsuccessful. Who knows? But then Luca is not going to free. So I don't know if that's kind of a shame. But again, a lot of Disney stuff coming us. It looks like we're kind of getting our summer movie season. May, June, July, we're definitely getting new titles from Disney. But of course, Disney don't just own Disney anymore. They also own Fox stuff. But I do want to make one mention before we go to the Fox properties, and that is, of course, remember when we had MCU films? Does anyone remember the MCU? Before it was just Disney Plus TV series. Of course, since Black Widow has moved, that also affected the next MCU entry. I know you said Disney Plus. Shang-Chi, which was originally in that July 9th slot, and The Legend of Ten Fists, is now moved to September. I think it's September 3rd. If I can just confirm. Yes, September 3rd. Standard theatrical release, presumably. They haven't announced anything on that. We haven't actually seen anything of Shang-Chi in general. We're kind of getting toy leaks and stuff if you follow along with that. But it's interesting, it's kind of strange that we haven't. And I think, again, that's another reason why you kind of have to get Black Widow out sooner rather than later, because that has had pretty much a full marketing campaign. So at a certain point when we started marketing the movie, after a while, if there's no kind of release, like no eventual movie, people kind of lose interest. And I think that could have been the case with Black Widow, but they're being very smart with their other entries. Shang-Chi, we haven't seen anything from. Eternals, we haven't seen anything from. And apparently not much longer, I'd say, to wait until we see something from Shang-Chi, considering it's coming at us in September, so not long to wait. A bit of a strange time for an MCU entry, but at this stage, considering how miserable the cinema-going experience has been for a last while, we must embrace it. We also got a lot on the Fox slate. So there's a few films here to touch on. Three I want to touch on in a bit more detail. One I want to mention just as an aside. We had Deep Water, which is the Ben Affleck Ana de Armas film. That's been dated for January 14, 2022. I think it was originally dated for this year. I can't remember when. That's kind of one of these are kind of erotic-y thrillers, I think. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Next January, again, doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. That's coming out in January. You see, the thing is, January used to be the dumping ground for movies, but I think at this point, every movie needs to be dumped. So who knows if we should look into that. Speaking of a movie that's been dumped, Kingsman has just been dumped all over the shop. Poor Kingsman. I can't say I was very excited for it, but you just feel bad for it. The Kingsman has moved to December 22nd of this year. It is officially past 2 years since its original date of November 2019. It has had 8 date changes. Now, I think one of those or 2 of those might have been just 2 dates or 2 days in the difference, but 8 dates. I mean, it's getting to New Mutants territory, which I just realized and thought it was so weird that New Mutants we were talking about and it was delayed so many times, and out of all the times it got released in the middle of a pandemic, which is hilarious. But yeah, I think Kingsman is one that they might just dump at some point just to get it out of their slate. The other thing is that there was big plans for this franchise. I don't think the franchise is necessarily I don't know if it has to be fixed to Disney. I think Marvel Entertainment owns it fully, but I'm guessing Disney has some sort of first look at it. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sell this off to somewhere. Do you know what? This is a big prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sell it to Netflix, because Netflix have Millar World, Mark Millar, and he made Kingsman. So I don't know, but it does kind of feel like that thing where it's sort of bordering on irrelevant now. Again, we have had quite a bit of marketing for that as well, and we've been hearing about it forever. I think at some point just put it out. I would normally suggest that it might have gone to Hulu. I think I did suggest that, or it could go to Star internationally. I think though there is a deal with Fox's properties that they have to go to HBO first. I think that's why New Mutants is actually on HBO Max at the moment and not Disney. And that was a lot of the conversation at one stage. That being said, Nomadland went to Hulu and Star. So I don't know. But Kingsman continues to be delayed. Will it come out this December? Who cares? I mean, it doesn't scream Christmas release, but we'll see how it goes. The other film, or one of the other films, that's going to be released apparently in the summer movie season is August 13th. Free Guy. The Ryan Reynolds one where he's like stuck in a video game world. Or whatever the story with that was. Yeah, again, this one they've marketed quite a bit. It's been pushed around a lot. It's one of those ones that I think they just have to get out. I don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to come out August 13th? Very possibly. 4 months. Plenty of time to market, to push a marketing campaign. It's a pretty expensive looking movie, so I think that's kind of the reason why they've been a bit careful with it. But I think the hype for it is kind of gone, if there ever was any. Anyway, another film that's this film is going to be dumped at some point. I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know how. It's going to be dumped. Death on the Nile. This is the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express. It's another one where it was meant to come out December 2019. So it's had 6 dates, which isn't as much as Kingsman, but it's still a very respectable number. Go on, Death on the Nile. 6 dates, well done. You're going to catch up there someday. It was now then pushed not to the end of the year, but to next year. It's coming out February 11th, 2022, which the elephant in the room here is that Armie Hammer is in this film. And apparently it's like a film. It sounds more like the reason they're kind of pushing it out is they want the kind of furore or scandal to die down a bit. It sounds like they have no intention of doing reshoots with this, mainly because I don't think they imagine it's going to be a massively successful film anyway, possibly. I don't know though. It's kind of hard to tell if there's how much hype there is for this film, especially because it's been delayed so many times. But yeah, they said it's just like you can't really cut him out of the film, but also apparently they have no interest in reshooting it like they did with what was that, All the Money in the World, where they got rid of Kevin Spacey and they put in Christopher Plummer. Apparently they're not going to do that. But anyway, that's what's going on with Disney's slate. Now, at the same time, Disney aren't the only one making massive changes. Naturally, there's other studios that have to make massive changes. And when you look at the studios, it's like there's Sony. Sony don't have any massive movies. They have a few, but they've mostly kind of done minor changes, like pushing things a week. They pushed Venom a week. Morbius is opening next year now. And they kind of were very clear, we're not going to release any movies until the cinemas are back. They were very clear on that. So I think they're going to wait until it's definitely safe. Then you have Lionsgate is a smaller studio. They're kind of starting to put out films for summer. Warner Brothers are putting their stuff on HBO Max, so they don't really care about theatrical. And of course, then Disney owned Fox, and Fox would have been a big studio. Disney owned them, so Disney and Fox, they're kind of doing their own thing. But Paramount is the other one, and Paramount are starting to make changes as well. But you know what? If you're kind of getting down with all these delays, how about some good news? How about the fact that Paramount actually moved a movie up? Those crazy bastards. Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Yeah, oh, that's the movie they moved up. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Is there any hype for this movie at all? I don't think so. Especially because I saw, like, it was funny, I saw, like, the announcement for this was on, like, the official G.I. Joe account, and it had, like, no followers and no interaction, and then some random guy posted it and it got way more reaction, so I'm like, I don't know if that tells me there's a lot of interest in this movie or no interest in the brand altogether, but it was originally coming out October 22nd, now it's coming out July 23rd. No other details, haven't got a trailer. I don't know about this one, like, guys. I'll be honest. I mean, like, it feels like there wasn't much interest in the G.I. Joe franchise anyway. To bring it back with a spin-off, that feels very presumptive, but it is what it is. Like, to be honest, kind of I thought this one might go to Amazon, because I think they're making what is it? Is it the Baroness? Is that her character's name? I don't know. They're I think they're working on a G.I. Joe TV series at Amazon, so it wouldn't surprise me if this went there, considering all the Paramount properties are going to Amazon. But we have a few other dates looking to the future. It's not all about films coming this year, the odd delays. Sometimes it's about the vast and distant future, okay? And that is what we're talking about with Paramount, because 3 of their properties have kind of gotten dates. Now, again, I say we're talking about the future. Jackass, not really that futuristic. And it's coming pretty soon. It was originally going to be September 3rd. Now it's going to take Snake Eyes' original date of October 22nd. So, obviously no details on that. Last time we talked about Jackass 4, we were talking about Bam Margera being out of the movie. Seemingly, it's pretty definitive that he's out of the movie. I think the movie is, like, almost done. They filmed the opening, apparently, I read. I guess he's not in it. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he gets some help and he can be involved in some form, at least in the promotion of it. Or maybe they can put some of his stuff in. I don't know. Or does that... Oh, my God. We're going to have, like, a release the BAM cut. Release the CKY cut. That would be very interesting. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, going to more distant lands. Dungeons and Dragons. They were talking about adapting this. It's coming from, John Francis Daly and I can't remember the other guy. The guys who make Game Night, anyway. They are working on the movie. It was originally slated for May of next year. Now it's coming March of 2023. Again, this is so far away. Who even cares? And then we have the weird case of Star Trek. We were talking about the future. Definitely boldly going where no man has before. Or are they? I really have no idea what's going on with Star Trek at this point. Because, like, let's talk a minute, right? We've talked about Star Trek films since I started doing this podcast. And I don't think any of them have come to pass. We talked about Tarantino's Star Trek. We talked about Noah Hawley's Star Trek. I think we talked about another Star Trek. We talked definitely about another one in development. I think there was 2 or 3 Star Trek movies in development at one point. This one is a whole one altogether, apparently. Coming from Star Trek Discovery writer Kalinda Vasquez, who apparently she's actually named after a character, I think called Kalinda from the original Star Trek series. This is apparently separate to all the other Star Trek films that have been rumored as of late. It's set to come out June 9th, 2023. I don't think Paramount know what they're doing with Star Trek franchise. I know that they know what they're doing. Well, they think they know what they're doing with Paramount Plus and the TV series. But when it comes to the movies, I think they always wanted to be this big blockbuster franchise that it's not. And they always end up putting a lot of money into it and then disappointed when it comes back with like 500 million and it's not like a $1 billion movie. It's not a Star Wars, it's a Star Trek, and that's got limited appeal. And I think the thing is, like, the people who do love Star Trek aren't necessarily big fans of the movies. So I don't know, they're going to try again. It's not going to be Star Trek 4. It's not going to be Quentin Tarantino Star Trek. It's not going to be the other Star Trek 4. It's going to be a Star Trek movie, whatever the hell that means in this day and age, and whatever the hell Paramount cooks up. Probably, basically, Star Wars light. But regardless, we did get some more. I mean, if Paramount is known for one thing, believe it or not, it's Tom Cruise. That's right. Tom Cruise is like the big Paramount star. And he's got a lot of stuff going on at Paramount that's been affected. Basically, this is like a Tom Cruise update. Maybe I can start a segment on that. Tom Cruise has Top Gun Maverick. And it's pretty interesting, this one, right? Top Gun Maverick was slated originally for July 2nd. Now, if you've been following some of the other dates I mentioned, that's like primo real estate, bro. That's perfect. And then it got delayed. What? It got delayed to November 19th. Now, apparently the reason for this is Tom Cruise wants to go on one of his trademark round the world tours where he's like, that's right, I did a crazy stunt, and he shows up everywhere in motorcycle. And people are like, God, that Tom Cruise is cold. He's so damn cold, it's cool. It's a shame he's a weirdo Scientologist, isn't it? Yeah. He's just, that's what he does. He goes in these, that took a weird turn there. He just wants to go on with these weirdo tours where everyone forgets that he's attached to a horrible cult-like religion. Not the cults are bad. But yeah, that's what you have to do as Tom Cruise, I guess. You go on a tour so people forget that you're kind of annoying. They're like, actually, you know what? He seems like a bit of a charming man, just long enough to see his films. And then you forget about that, and then the next film comes out, and he has to go on another round the world tour. Because, of course, he also has Mission Impossible set up at Paramount. The 7th and 8th one are originally going to be filmed back to back. That's not the case anymore, but I'm guessing they're going to have to film pretty close together, because this is very ambitious of them, right? Mission Impossible 7 is still filming. It's been shut down multiple times over COVID delays. I mean, we all heard that Tom Cruise rant, which was weirdly the other thing where he never wanted to get out because it doesn't fit his image. But also, it was kind of the first time anyone was like, "Fuck yeah, Tom Cruise! You tell him he is like one of us. He's sick of this. You know, he is human after all." But yeah, it got hit by COVID delays quite a bit. It's still filming. They're apparently saying this is going to come out May 27, 2022. That seems very possible for the 7th one. But the 8th one is apparently going to come out a little over a year later, July 7, 2023. That's a year? I don't know. If they're not filming it back to back, I don't know how that's going to work, but it's weird, right? I'm not sure how likely that is to happen, but doesn't Tom Cruise have to go to space or something to visit Xenu? Oh, fuck. I need to stop mentioning Scientology. I'm going to get like, what's that? I'm going to be one of those people that you can't contact, or I'm going to get weirdos following me around at the airport or whatever. That's okay. I'm not going to the airport nowadays anyway. But yeah, no, he's going to space. He's going to space to film a movie with SpaceX or whatever, which is a terrible idea because Tom Cruise does his own insane stunts. Tom Cruise is going to be the first man who's just lost in space. Maybe not the first man, actually. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to look that up, and I don't want to get depressing, but yeah, maybe we'll lose Tom Cruise to the eternal abyss of space, which would make a great film. And also made a great episode of Futurama. I'm babbling. I don't know why I'm babbling, because I have plenty to talk about when we get to our trailer trash. This is, I think, the biggest edition of trailer trash we've ever had. As I said, 11 trailers for 10 movies, so we better get into it with our trailer trash.
This is the theme for trailer
This is the theme for trailer trash. Get in the bin.
Get in the bin.
That was a sloppy transition, man. This might be a sloppy show in general today, to be honest. As if shit couldn't get any worse, it just knocked over my microphone. It's like the fucking Muppet Show, man. I'm going crazy here. Okay, here's what I'm going to do to try and make up for it. Here's what I'm going to do to try and be professional. I'm going to try transition seamlessly, professionally, between all these trailers. You think I should be half decent at this now. I've done this nearly 2.5 years. But no, apparently not. I'm going to try seamlessly transition between all my trailers. It's going to be a disaster because, as I mentioned, there's like 11 trailers for 10 movies. So I don't think this is going to go well. But anyway, we were talking about the DC Universe. We were talking about how the Snyderverse is dead. Zack Snyder seems to have no problem with the dead as he takes on Army of the Dead for Netflix. Oh, that was so fucking good. Right, we got a trailer for Zack Snyder's latest film. We actually got 2 trailers for it, but I'm only going to talk about the second one because that was the one that was more substantial in my opinion. It was, it's interesting, right? Because his first film was Dawn of the Dead, and I actually quite like Dawn of the Dead. If you haven't seen it, I say check it out. It's a pretty good movie. But obviously he's changed quite a bit as a filmmaker since then, and I think this is kind of interesting to see someone go back to the genre that kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of made him famous. I do think it has some maybe hallmarks of the later Zack Snyder films, like there's some awkward slow motion, and there's also some sort of weird digital kind of stuff in here that makes it seem more green screen than it is. I don't know. But yeah, I guess the question is, what do I make of the trailer? Am I excited for this movie? Now, we also figured out that the running time for this is apparently over 2.5 hours, which I'm like, oh, come on. Do we really need that? I don't know. I mean, it's not 4 hours, so I guess that's all right. But throwing shade at the Snyder Cut. It's sort of it was okay. I don't think the trailer necessarily did anything for me. I thought there was some good moments in it. I like the cast. I love the concept. The concept is basically mixing together the zombie movie and the heist movie, which is just, I think that really works. That's interesting to me, you know. The basic story is that all these guys are basically given a job that they can get a casino. A casino vault has millions and millions of dollars, and they have 32 hours to get it out of there. And of course, if they do, they'll be rich, whatever that means in this zombie apocalypse world. Yeah, is the trailer any good? It's okay. Has its moments. You know, I think what's good here is that it feels like a more appropriate use of some of Zack Snyder's tropes. Like slow motion stuff would work here because his zombies are sped up. Washed out colors makes sense because it's Las Vegas and it's an apocalypse. So, you know, I think that could work. There is some cool moments in the trailer. Obviously, the most notable one is coming up behind me in the video version, which is the zombie tiger, which is, it's dumb, but it's awesome. I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. I think if it was coming to cinemas, I might be too excited. But the fact that I can just watch it on Netflix is a plus. You know, watching Dave Bautista just gun down zombies, that's nothing wrong with that, right? Now, the other thing I will say is that as much as I know Zack Snyder can nail the kind of zombie elements, I'm kind of... Actually, you know what? I'm going to twist that around. As much as I'm pretty positive he could nail the zombie elements, I'm not sure how he handles a heist movie. That's one of the only things I'm concerned about. But the other thing I'm kind of worried about, one of my nitpicks, one thing I really don't like, is when there's just hordes of zombies in a movie. And that sounds like a weird complaint, but let me explain it further. I'm not saying I don't like hordes of zombies. It works obviously in some movies, but I think it works better as the slow shuffling zombies. When it's just a massive pile of hyperactive, violent zombies, I don't know about that. And I'm even less sure of it when it's just they can all gun them down because, and again, it's not from a storytelling perspective, it's not from an action perspective. It just means that presumably you're going to have scenes where it's just them gunning down a load of pointless CGI characters, which isn't very interesting or exciting to me. So, I don't know. Am I excited for it? Not massively. But I thought it was a decent trailer. I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm going to watch it absolutely as soon as it comes out, the weekend it comes out. So that's, I guess, all you can hope for really when it comes to a Netflix movie, isn't it? But anyway, we might have said that, we've said that Zack Snyder is done with the DC Universe. Seemingly, for now at least. One person who's not done with the DC Universe, though, is James Gunn. Oh, that's 2 transitions, folks. That's 2. I did put up 2 fingers there in the video version. It was just that my finger was cut off to the side, so it looked like 1. We got 2 trailers for the Suicide Squad that I want to discuss. I want to talk about both of them, actually, which I didn't do for Army of the Dead. But here's why I want to talk about them. They're 2 massively different trailers, and not only that, one is red band and one is green band. So, what we're talking about first is the red band one. Now, the red band one came out first. I've made no bones about this. This is my most anticipated superhero film this year. It's one of my most anticipated films of the year. And the red band trailer, initially, I was kind of a little underwhelmed with it. Now, I do think it's a good trailer, but I don't think it gave me enough of what I was looking for. You know, it gave me some great character moments. It gave me a few jokes. I will admit I love the tone of the film. It's just kind of silly, over the top, but also looks like it's going to have some good action and some kind of emotional stakes. And it really just did a great job of kind of showing these characters to be these kind of useless losers, you know, like Captain Boomerang just peeling shit off his shoe. I'm like, perfect. But there was also just some amazing moments in this. Like King Shark is a character that the internet immediately fell in love with. Mainly because he's just a big dumb lumbering character played by Sylvester Stallone, apparently. And of course we have the awesome moment where he rips a guy in half lengthways, and it's like so bloody and violent, and I'm like, oh, that's why it's a red band trailer, and that's why I love it. We have other characters that people are really love it. People love Peacemaker. John Cena as Peacemaker just sounds hilarious. Good thing, because you're giving him a spin-off series, so hopefully it works. And there's other characters that I think they just nailed a bit better in this. I like Harley Quinn from what we've seen in this. You know, we have that moment at the start of the trailer where someone's trying to bust her out. And she's already busted out, and she's kind of hurt that that they didn't get a buster out. She has a kind of a what could be a sneak diss at the Joker, because the Joker has personalized license plates, and she gives out to the Thinker for having personalized license plates. She says, "If you have that, we're going to kill you." But yeah, I'm trying. I still don't fully know what about it made me a little underwhelmed. I don't know if it was just because it felt like what we'd kind of seen in the preview footage. I don't know, but visually there was a lot of cool stuff. It also, I want to toot my horn about this. Whoa, can't do that on YouTube. I called it as soon as we saw the footage from DC Fandom. Starro is the villain, folks. I'm just that I said it, man. I said it right away, and here we are. Wouldn't you know it? But yeah, it's a decent trailer. We don't know anything about Starro, who's voicing him or anything. One thing I want to point out, by the way, okay, all these Zack Snyder fans that were like giving this film shit as well on Twitter. They were like, "Oh, restore the Snyderverse" for all the Twitter stuff. Zack Snyder produced this, you know. He's an executive producer on this film, and yeah, I know that mightn't mean much, but still, I mean, it just feels kind of weird that you would do that. So, as I said, we had the Red Band trailer. Now, obviously, this is a Warner Bros. Movie. It's going to HBO Max. Godzilla vs. Kong came to cinemas, and in cinemas, a totally different trailer was playing. A Green Band trailer. And if you're wondering, like, what's the shock there? Normally when you have a Green Band trailer and a Red Band trailer, it's like barely a difference. It's like different swear words, maybe. This trailer is totally different. And not only is it totally different, it's a better trailer. I love this trailer a lot more than the Red Band one. The Red Band one kind of kept my interest. This got me hyped again. It's set to a totally different song. The first one was set to Dirty Work by Steely Dan. This one is set to, was it Kiss Him and Tell Him Goodbye? I mean, look, no one knows the name of that song. It's just na 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 na. It's got set to an epic version of that. And it's just a better trailer. We get a look at some more powers. We see Polka Dot Man in action. We see the detachable kid, or arm fall off boy, Nathan Fillion's character. That's one of the things I wasn't massively impressed by. His powers are kind of weird. It was just like weird floaty limbs. And again, this is a Green Man trailer, so you can't show too much. It wouldn't surprise me if James Gunn put some weird gore effects or something in there and they just cut that out. But yeah, this is a much better trailer. Not that the first trailer was terrible, but this trailer was better. It also does something, like it doesn't outright spoil Starro as a villain. He's like teased a bit more in this. But again, I mean, you know, I don't think that's that big a deal, because like anyone who has seen it was straight away been like, "Oh, Starro." Because and you know, I actually will say this, I am very excited to see what James Gunn's take on Starro is, because Starro is that kind of character that everyone knows, and if he wasn't the first villain the Justice League faced, no one would give a shit. Like, he's just a giant starfish. It's such a stupid villain. But that's why I think it's going to work really well in this. I like the team dynamics. It also has that kind of level of darkness to it that I enjoy. Like we have that moment in both trailers actually, but they edited it, where Polka Dot Man, or no, Idris Elba's like, "We're all gonna die," and Polka Dot Man's like, "I hope so," and he just goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake." I think that's excellent. I like that kind of dark characters, and I feel like these characters are going to blend pretty well together. I do think between these two trailers, it's kind of easy, and I hope it's misdirection, to tell who's going to die. Again, I don't know if this is a spoiler. This is just speculation, obviously. But here's who I think is going to die. So skip ahead 30 seconds before we go on to the next trailer. Yeah, Captain Boomerang is going to die. The Javelin guy, I think his name is just Javelin Man, Flula Borg's character, he's going to die. Who else is going to die? Okay. This one might be a big spoiler, and I could be wrong. There's a moment in this Green Band trailer, right, where Ratcatcher 2 is clearly huddled over a body and swarmed by rats, and she looks kind of emotional. The armor kind of looks like Bloodsport, Idris Elba's character, and that we see a moment in one of the trailers where they kind of connect. So I think he might die. I think Rick Flag is probably going to die. I think a lot of people are going to die, to be honest. But that's kind of part of the fun. And I think it's something that was kind of missing from the first Suicide Squad movie. But anyway, that was the Suicide Squad trailer. Coming out in August to HBO Max and hopefully cinemas, if cinemas are open all over the place. But yeah, I think my trust is well placed. But anyway, jumping from the world of DC to Marvel, we got a trailer for Loki. Three seamless transitions. I've said before, Loki is one of the Disney Plus shows I'm most excited for, because I kind of feel like WandaVision was able to get weird, although I think it went a bit formulaic at the end. But again, those are characters that have to come back into the mainstream continuity of the MCU universe. The MCU universe. That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Falcon Winter Soldier is pretty safe overall. Loki is like outside of the time, not in the main continuity, really. I mean, obviously it is, but they don't have to connect it to anything. So they can just get weird with it, man. They're going to get some weird stuff with it. And that is why I was really excited for Loki. And it kind of feels like just a kind of fun adventure where it doesn't have to worry about a massive amount of story. Now, obviously, we're going to get that. And it's also just kind of kooky and funny. Like that, we have that moment in the trailer where like he has to sign off on everything he's ever said, and he says one thing, and he has to sign another thing. That's fun, you know. It kind of feels a bit Doctor Who-ish, where he's just going to all these weird worlds, trying to write the time stream after he messed it up in Endgame when he took the Tesseract. And because of that, it kind of feels like we can just jump around. Obviously, we have a moment that a lot of people were talking about initially where he gets to be D.B. Cooper. Visually, I will say, this looks like more expensive in some cases than a lot of the other MCU shows, which I'm like, are they just showing off those parts? Is it just, good luck that it looks that good? Because it feels weird that they put all that interest into, Loki, as opposed to the other MCU characters. It kind of has, I don't know, it feels to me like a mixture of Rick and Morty and Doctor Who kind of, and I like that. And obviously it's not going to go too weird, because again, it is probably a Marvel show, so you have to kind of put you have to put that bar at a certain level, because you're not going to get something too weird or edgy, realistically. But this just looks like a good time, man. Just looks really fun, and the more Tom Hiddleston as Loki, I'm totally down. We do have some interesting moments in this trailer. There's one moment where it looks like they're looking at a wrecked New York. Avengers Tower is wrecked. I don't know when that could be. There's a moment there, if we're in the video version. First of all, I'm only thinking this now. It actually looks where they say goodbye to Odin in Thor Ragnarok, but that might just be a coincidence. But there's a moment here where it's Black Widow on what appears to be nowhere, but I'm not sure. Is this, obviously we assume that it's not gonna, like, that something that big wouldn't be like Herbert coming back, but I think it's a cool moment. But yeah, interesting trailer. I will say it's probably my most anticipated MCU TV series. Maybe Miss Marvel, maybe, but certainly in this cycle, coming soon, I suppose. That's the one I'm most excited for. But anyway, we got a glimpse of Black Widow in the Loki trailer, but now we got a lot more Black Widow. Four freaking transitions. Let's keep going. I talked beforehand about how it kind of felt like this is something they just needed to do at this point. And obviously, I said they marketed a lot. And because of that, I was kind of concerned. Like, how much do they have left to show to make this actually interesting? But you know what? This is a pretty good trailer. I mean, again, I do think they're trying not to show too much footage, because like, about 30 seconds of the trailer is footage from previous Marvel movies, which really just hammer the point home that, yeah, you should have put this out before all this. This really should have happened before and out, but obviously there was that guy, Ike Perlmutter, I think it was, who was like a bit not into women, to put it mildly. They focus a lot on the flashback elements of this, which offers a lot of opportunities. Obviously, it looks really like a family drama as well from this trailer. Like, there's more of that going on than you would think. But also, I think the action looks a lot bigger than I was expecting. And that's a positive and negative for me, because obviously I think one of Black Widow's sort of benefits is that she is a more grounded human character. But I don't think they've done anything, at least judging from this, that's too outside of that realm. But yeah, there's no big revelations in this trailer, really. I mean, we say Ray Winston. I don't think we've seen him before. We get a bit more Taskmaster. Black Widow used to have blue hair as a kid. I don't know. Is that a big revelation? But yeah, it looks good. This sounds like very faint praise, but I'm more excited for Black Widow than I was when I saw this trailer. So I guess mission accomplished. But that's pretty faint praise. Again, I think the problem was that, of course, we've been waiting for this movie for a long, long time now. So, I think they really just have to get my excitement back up, and they've done that. But I do think at a certain point it is just going to be like, Like, oh, finally, it's out. So hopefully it's good. It looks pretty good. But anyway, that's our trailer for Black Widow. And Natasha might have her tastes in black and white, but she's certainly not as fashionable as another character in black and white, Cruella, which we also got a trailer for. Five transitions. That one was a bit, but you know, it was pretty good. 5 transitions. Whoa, keeping this streak going, baby. We have to put like a countdown timer or a counter somewhere in the video. Yeah. I would talk to Cruella before, because this is obviously our second trailer we've had for this now, and I was pretty positive on the first trailer. I think it was the surprise. I was like, oh, this looks kind of stylish and it looks kind of different, and it doesn't look like they're making her the good guy, which was the big concern everyone had. Like, how would you make a kind of a sympathetic villain out of a woman who, let's face it, wanted to skin 101 dogs and wear them, 99 of which were puppies, if that makes it worse. I mean, it's not good either way, but you know. And this trailer kind of went the other way a little bit for me. It kind of killed a bit of excitement. It still looks visually like a gorgeous film, you know, from an artistic perspective, the costuming and the set design and all that stuff. But also it did kind of feel a little bit formulaic. It's like, oh, the boss is the biggest bad guy. But wait a minute, Cruella, she's not as bad as her, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell where they're going in this trailer. I don't know if they're trying to undercut that element because they expected it would have backlash if they did that. I don't know. But again, it does feel like she's taking on someone who's also bad, which I'm okay with. As long as they don't kind of sanitize her, because again, she's a bad person. Yeah, there wasn't anything notable massively in this trailer for me, especially compared to the last one, except maybe the fact that she steals I can't remember, that character called the Baroness or something, you know, Emma Thompson's character, who happens to be Dalmatians, so I guess that's where she gets it from. That seems like one of those things that they have in prequels that is totally unnecessary. That's why she hates Dalmatians. Her boss had Dalmatians. Okay, but you still wanted to skin 101 of them. That's pretty fucked up, dude. Anyway, it also does kind of feel like that thing where they are like upping her villainy and her skills. Like originally she was just like, oh, fashion designer with 2 crooks to skin puppies, but here she's like robbing banks, car chases. I'm like, all right, well, you know, if it leads to a good movie, I'll overlook it. But it does still ask the question of who needs a Cruella prequel and who wants a Cruella prequel. But if I had to give it positive for words, I suppose it could have been worse. Well, certainly after the way Cruella's going on and robbing dogs and robbing banks, there are those people who are going to want her dead. And maybe she should check out our next film trailer, Those Who Wish Me Dead. Oh, 6. This comes from Taylor Sheridan, who has directed Wind River. He directed, what else did he direct? I can't remember. He's written a lot of stuff anyway. He wrote Sicario. He wrote Hell or High Water. And he's made great films. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he's made some of the best films in recent memory. He's also created Wind River. Yellowstone is what I meant to say. He's involved with that. This is, I think, only his second directorial film, because he doesn't count his first one for whatever reason, which feels a bit pretentious. That's like Tarantino as well, isn't it? Because he directed a film and it's like, oh, not that one. That's not my first one. Reservoir Dogs. You like that one. So yeah, this was sort of billed as a neo-western, and I think what's interesting is this is one has been on my radar for a while. In fact, I mentioned it. I didn't actually mention it on my preview of this year. I think I mentioned it on my preview of the year before, because obviously everything kind of got pushed back and delayed. And what I got out of this was something I didn't expect, but something I really like the look of. I thought it would kind of have a different look to it, a different kind of energy to it. It stars Angelina Jolie. It also co-stars John Bernthal, Nicholas Hoult, and Aidan Gillen. And first of all, I know this is probably a stupid thing to say, but I'm glad to see Angelina Jolie take on roles like this again. She used to, for a while there, it felt like she just took on very kind of small, kind of, you know, dramatic performances. But this feels like something that's kind of got a bit of energy and action to it. Basically, she's one of these people in what seems to be a national park where there's like these fire towers and watching out for forest fires and that kind of thing. And at some point, it seems from the start of the trailer, she made the wrong call and presumably it cost people their lives. And one day, there's this kid comes out of nowhere, covered in blood, not his blood, someone else's blood. and I guess she has the opportunity to do right and save him. I guess there are people who wish the kid dead, and she tries to protect him, and it looks good. I would be lying if I said it looks like it had the same degree of depth as some of his other films, but again, I don't think his films were massively deep anyway, to be fair. They were kind of, I guess, high concept thrillers would be what you could call them. But, you know, they're kind of a reinvention of these kind of American kind of classics, I suppose. In this, we have the kind of Western, kind of an action-y thriller. And I'm enjoying seeing Angelina Jolie step back into that role because it feels like it's been a while since that's happened. And yeah, I don't know what to say. It looks good. It doesn't look game-changing. But again, it looks good enough that I want to see it when it opens immediately. Again, that's based on the strength of Taylor Sheridan and indeed the trailer, because it does look pretty good, even if it wasn't a total game changer for me. It's coming to HBO Max as well, so that makes it easier. May 14th for this one. But you know what, Angelina Jolie, if there are people who wish you dead, what you could do is get some help from our next trailer. That's because we're looking at the trailer for the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Seven seamless transitions. This is the most I've ever done, and it hasn't been that bad. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, right? This is one of those sequels that I don't think anyone necessarily asked for, and that sounds kind of harsh. But let's be honest, the first one was that kind of thing where it just came out of nowhere, and you saw it, and you're like, "Hey, that was pretty good." 2017 it came out in, and it did pretty well. It had a small budget, made a decent chunk of change, and people generally kind of liked it. You know, it was nice. Samuel L. Jackson, Ryan Reynolds, they had good chemistry, bit of fun. I don't know who was asking for a sequel, but we're getting one. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and this time the wife is Salma Hayek. This trailer, I'd be lying if I said it did much for me. It just kind of, it just kind of came and went. It looks fine. It looks like your kind of standard action comedy. But, you know, I think the first one was kind of that as well. It was only, you know, the performances that elevated. And I think that'll be the case here because there's moments in this trailer that got a laugh out of me because of the performances. Although there is what looks like it's going to be a real groaner of a joke. It looks like there's a moment where, like, they're riding a bike backwards and Ryan Reynolds' face ends up in Salma Hayek's boobs. The only person laughing at that is going to be Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, I guess. Yeah, it's okay. I actually think that the star of this trailer is the music. They picked Toxic by Britney Spears and they mixed it really well. That was well done, whoever did that. It looks like a kind of fun, disposable action movie. It seems like the one, if it was going straight to Netflix, you'd watch it and have a great Friday night or whatever. If it's going to cinemas, I'm not going to rush out to see it, but, you know, if it's a slow Friday, slow Saturday, slow weekday, maybe I'll go see it. That's pretty faint praise, sure, but, you know, there is a couple of jokes we had. I like the moment, as I won't, at the end of the trailer where, and I don't know if this is the spoiler. I guess not if they gave it away in the trailer. Not because they never spoiled something in the trailer. That Salma Hayek is pregnant, and he's like, you know, I'm going to be a mother. Don't you think I make a great mother? And Ryan Reynolds is like, oh, you'd make a great host. I just thought that was really funny. I don't know. It was okay. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was terrible. I'll probably watch it at some point. I've kind of made me want to watch the first one, so I guess that's a positive. It was fine. It certainly wasn't a torturous experience, which is the case for our next trailer, Spiral. 8. Nearly there, folks. Nearly there. Okay, can I talk about something I don't like about this trailer? And it's not just this trailer is guilty of it, but it's very noticeable in this, and that's the horrible cliche I hate of constantly fading to black between shots. So I'm suspense. It's doing it right behind me now in the video version. You'll have a seizure, dude. If this was playing in a movie theater, and you're trying to find your seat, it's a nightmare. It's happened to me before. Yeah. Okay. This is, of course, the spin-off to Saw that comes from Chris Rock, of all people. And it's kind of strange, this, right? Because on paper, I'm like, this kind of has me interested in Saw a bit. This kind of makes me go, oh, maybe I'll watch all the Saw films, even though you totally don't have to, seemingly, because it seems pretty self-contained. And also, by the way, they could possibly have two concurrent franchises here, because they're bringing Saw back for a sequel, and maybe they'll have spiral films continuously after this. Who knows? But it also feels kind of riddled with cliches in a few ways. It basically feels like Seven. There's a copycat killer inspired by Jigsaw who seemingly is dressed as a pig. At least that's very prominent throughout it. So I don't know. I like it. I think it looks good, but I don't know if it is... I don't think anyone expected this to be game-changing. But the fact that it's different and interesting, at least, if only for the reason that it's got Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock of all people in it, it kind of gets your attention on that alone. Speaking of Chris Rock, though, and I haven't seen the new season of Fargo, I've heard he's quite good in it. I don't know. Judging from this trailer, it doesn't... It feels kind of weird seeing him in this. I don't know if it works. And I don't know if it's just his voice. Like, anytime I hear him, I'm just thinking that zebra in Madagascar. It just seems like his cadence doesn't suit this movie. And I don't know. The trailer, it looks like at times it reveals that, Samuel Jackson's going to die, at least. I don't know. Is this going to be elevated above the usual kind of torture porn fare? Or is it... the problem, aside from that, is if it is not one of those regular torture films, is it just going to be a standard thriller? Hopefully not, but we shall see. Well, this is a tough one. Speaking of Chris Rock, forget about Chris Rock. Why don't you pass me the rock for some basketball, brother? Because we are going to an intergalactic basketball game with Space Jam and New Legacy. That was real torture. Wow, that was circuitous, but I got there. I'm counting it. 9. One more left, baby. Space Jam and New Legacy. Now, I've talked about this a lot. I talked about it even in my last episode. And I was talking about it long before it was confirmed that this is going to contain characters from the Warner Brothers IP library, I guess. In this case, the Warner Brothers server, as they make clear in the film. And on paper, I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of bonkers. And then I saw this trailer and I was like, it's not really. It's just them trying to cash in on everything. And I kind of hate it. So yeah, already there's Game of Thrones, there's The Wizard of Oz, lots of Hanna-Barbera stuff, and here's I found this very strange, right? Because we have people who grew up with Space Jam now and they're nostalgic for it, and they're kind of overcompensating. Like, I saw people being like, "Oh, at least the original, wasn't like just a cash in, or had some like intelligent storytelling." I'm like, dude, it was Michael Jordan playing basketball with the Looney Tunes based on an ad just selling like shoes. What are you talking about? So people are kind of putting on the nostalgia glasses hard for it. And definitely they're trying to draw these people in because it's basically got every property they've ever had. Now, one thing I will say that I like, I enjoy the fact that LeBron gets turned into a cartoon, because that always kind of bugged me when I saw Space Jam. I'm like, why is he not a cartoon? It just kind of feels like he should be, because everyone else is. But again, this time they start as cartoons, and then they get digitized, so LeBron James becomes the actual LeBron James, I guess, and the Looney Tunes kind of get that CGI look. So I like that as well. I like that it's just not one look, that they go through some visual stuff. That being said, first of all, behind me at the moment they're showing the enemy team. It really does. This is the second time I'm mentioning Futurama. It just looks like those Atomic Monster stuff. They just look really boring and generic, and it feels like you went through all these kind of IPs that you had, and in the end of the day, you just went with the Looney Tunes and the other stuff. So it just feels like this is unnecessary stuff to try and market the movie and make it work, which isn't pretty interesting to me. It really reminds me of Ready Player One, like it does a lot of people, and that was an okay movie, wasn't it? I also find it hilarious that everyone was freaking out about Pepe Le Pew. Meanwhile, you have the Droogs from Clockwork Orange in the background just watching some basketball. And I have to say this, which is what I said on Twitter, I think, as well. The cocaine, man, at Warner Bros. Must be sublime. That someone pitched, hey, let's do a movie where LeBron James, his son, gets sucked into a server. Don Cheadle won't release him unless he plays basketball, and the Droogs from Clockwork Orange are going to watch him play basketball. What the hell? Of course, there's also, a lot of DC characters and all this kind of stuff. The Iron Giant is in there. The Iron Giant is kind of going through a renaissance, and I have mixed feelings about it, because it's like, that was a great film, great contained, and it just doesn't really suit that character. Like, I don't know, but am I excited? Here's the thing, right? Some people went nuts for this trailer. I was interested by the idea of it until I saw the idea, the way it was executed, and yeah, it just feels more like kind of corporate bollocks to just be like, oh, look at all the stuff in this. Somewhat, you like one of these things, watch the movie. I kind of thought they would have a bit more intellectual use of the property, intellectual use of intellectual properties. But instead, it is just all jammed in there. It's kind of a mess. It really feels there's enough Hanna-Barbera stuff here where I think they're trying to kind of have this be a backdoor pilot to Hanna-Barbera stuff. It was okay. I didn't get anything out of it, really, to be honest. I thought the visuals were okay. I didn't laugh once. There's one painfully bad trope, and what I hate, right? Normally you put like the big moment at the end of your trailer, like after the title sequence, put something there the audience is going to remember. And theirs is like Granny kicks the basketball into the hoop, and you're like, I thought we were done with that trope. Like, oh, this Granny can't play basketball. What the hell's going on, mate? And I don't even know, does that count? She kicked the basketball in. Is that allowed? But yeah, it didn't do much for me. Maybe a later trailer will. Again, it's going to HBO Max, so I can't complain. I'm going to see it regardless. So yeah, I don't know about this one, folks. Some people are very excited for it. Didn't do much for me, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because at least we're seemingly going to have another franchise that's going into space aside from Space Jam, and that is Fast 9: The Fast Saga. 10 transitions, perfect 10. Wow. I'm just going to pat myself on the back. Hope the mics pick this up. Well done, mate. Oh, okay. Hopefully that made up for the show being a bit sloppy. Speaking of sloppy, oh my god, is that 11 transition? This trailer, oh boy. Fast 9. I talked about the Fast Furious movies. They're a guilty pleasure of mine, and I do mean that literally. They're terrible. Like, they're terrible. I know some people are like, oh, you don't have to be guilty of pleasures. No, you have to be guilty of Fast. Yeah, because they're terrible. They're so dumb and stupid. They jumped away from logic and physics a long times ago. And again, you don't need physics to make an entertaining movie, but like, they've just gone too far. You've gone too far this time. This is weird, right? And I talked about this before, right? Everything about these movies is like, it's about family. You know, the familia. Let's all drink Corona and have a barbecue for the familia, you know. Meanwhile, it's like, hey, Dom, don't you have a brother? Shut up. Because all of a sudden 9 entries in, it's like, oh yeah, this is my younger brother. What, I never mentioned him? Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it? This is again, I don't know how to feel about this trailer. It kind of reminded me of the Space Jam trailer in a weird way, in that it did nothing for me, but at the same time, I'm going to sound like such a moron when I say this, I am so excited to finally get back into cinemas and just embrace myself in the absurdity and scale and stupidity of a Fast and Furious film. It looks terrible. Like, the joke is there's like a joke in this, and there's a couple of jokes, but you know, they're not really good jokes. But they have that joke now where it's like, there's like Natalie Emmanuel's character can't drive at all. What's she doing in this movie, mate? Oh, maybe they can get a granny to drive car. Oh wait, they do in Helen Mirren. No, that wasn't intentional. I was just taking a piss out of Space Jam, and I was like, hey, Helen Mirren is old, isn't she? Oh, and I just said how lovely she was when I was talking about Shazam. Whoops. Sorry, Helen Mirren. No, actually, do you know what? I actually want to say this about Helen Mirren. I love that she's now just like, remember like not that long ago, I was like, oh, she plays the Queen. She's lovely. Oh, and she's quite a good actress. And now she's just fully embraced, like, put me in all these blockbuster franchises. Shazam, yeah, do it. Fast Furious, where? Is there any space over there? Put me in that. I'll drive a car in this one. Even though I don't fully get why she couldn't do the handbrake and Vin Diesel did it for her. But anyway, it's an okay trailer. It's big and stupid and action-packed. It's a Fast and Furious film. This time they're messing with magnets. Weird. Okay. Who had the idea to just be like, yeah, magnets? And also, I don't know, it kind of feels like if you did have a magnet that powerful, you'd just be sticking to a load of stuff. But yeah, they're really cashing in on magnets. I think a car gets stuck to a plane from magnets. A car throws other cars at magnets. I mean, all the cars do things they shouldn't do, don't they? They have less of the Tarzan swing in this, which I lost my mind at originally when I saw it, because it made no sense and I loved it. And then that's kind of it. Charlize Theron is back. They gave her a stupid bowl cut for whatever reason. She looks like Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder. It's a very strange choice. Why you would take a very lovely and talented actress like Charlize Theron and give her a stupid haircut and make her do this boring performance that they did in the last one. I don't know. I had the insane idea to think of like, oh my god, should I watch all the Fast and Furious films leading up to this? I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. they ignore their own continuity all the time. You know, oh my god, do you know what the funniest thing I saw during the week was, right? I think this was IGN. It was like the Fast and Furious timeline explained. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do you want to know what it is? They're all in the regular order except Tokyo Drift goes at the end. That's it. At the end. It's so It was like the most pointless article I've ever seen. I was like, okay. Thanks for that, IGN. Basically, just said, hey, did you know Tokyo Drift comes at the end? Yeah. Except I guess Fast 9 now takes place after Tokyo Drift because Hannah's alive inexplicably for some reason. Gal Gadot is definitely coming back at some point, I'd say. But also, the trailer at the very end, and this is how I talked about Space Jam, you put your big thing at the end of the trailer. The big thing here is Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson suiting up to seemingly go for space. They're getting there, folks. Finally. I don't know why. Do you know what? They might not be going to space though. But oh well, nope, never mind. They start flying their rocket. Like that. Like here's something I was thinking. Right, this movie is obviously centered around racers and cars and all that stuff. Are they the best lads for the job there? Like, are you when your car isn't even on the road? Are you really like, yeah, let's get some great street racers? Shouldn't you be like, hey, yeah, let's get some astronauts? They might have a better idea. But I don't know. It's again, it's gone to absurd heights. And I'm kind of giddily exciting for it to just stuff my face with popcorn, ignore the plot, and watch the big spectacle on a big screen. Again, I'm an idiot, and I said this before cinemas were closed with Hobbs and Shaw, so I have no excuse. But I'm sure I will enjoy it in some way. They also mentioned the possibility of this crossing over with Jurassic Park. Sure, fuck it, do it. Dinosaurs and supercars, why not? Yeah, stupid stuff. But anyway, let's move on, will we? Will we just get this out of the way? I did some seamless transitions. We had a lot of trailers. And we've reached the end of our show. But of course, around here, before we go, we always like to indulge ourselves with some useless IMDb trivia.
All trivia may be useless, but no trivia is more useless than useless IMDb trivia. That's a piece of trivia too.
Ending the show, as we always do, with our useless IMDb trivia, which is, of course, exactly what it sounds like. We go to the page on IMDb of a movie we discussed in the show and look up the trivia section and find a useless one for you to take home and tell your friends about. And we are on the page for Space Jam today, and boy, I don't know if this is true, but apparently this is a fictionalized account of what happened between Michael Jordan's retirement in 1992 and when he came back to playing basketball in 1996. Fictionalized, you say? I wonder what gave that away. Was it the fact that he was hanging around with the Looney Tunes, or was it the fact he was playing basketball in outer space? Are you sure it was fictionalized? 2 of 5 people found that interesting. I don't know. Maybe this is someone trying to throw us off the scent. Maybe this is exactly what Michael Jordan did get up to during his retirement. Oh, that was a winner. And tell their friends that, because they might be like, what? I thought it was a documentary. Oh, anyway. That is our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry there was no feature, but as we said, and as is pretty evident, we had a lot of news and trailers to get to. And hopefully next time we will have a feature, and hopefully we won't be waiting so long for another episode. Regardless, I hope you enjoy this. Please, no matter how you're listening to this, whether it's audio or video, subscribe, like, give it a positive review, all those good things. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of what I said. That's very vague. It makes it sound like I did something wrong. What do you think of what I said? Did I say something wrong? I hope not. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the things I did say or the things I did do. Did you enjoy my 10 seamless transitions? That's a Hall of Famer move right there. Regardless, I've been your cult leader, Tom Pop. We'll come back, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks with a new episode. Until then, I can't spell cult without you.
This is a broadcast from the Pop Cult Pod.